Anthony Picente. Anybody wants to ask a question or two, 315-736-0186. Lots to talk about. The 2019 budget is out and been presented. And in a nutshell, what's your take? Obviously, you support your proposal.
Well, I do. It's tight though, and as always, they're always difficult, and especially even when the economy's good, it's difficult because you're always worried about that, and a lot of it's based on different assumptions that we can make. But all in all, I think that we've put together a good spending plan and one that it keeps taxes at the lowest possible level, and but it's there's a lot in it. There's a lot more in it, and it's the last few years it's growing, and it's growing because of some new programming on the state level, some regulations on the state end of raise the age and other causes. There's as always, there's a great deal in it, and we're just trying to do the best we can, and I think we have. To come in 6 years without raising the levy, I think is significant.
One of the issues in the congressional race popped up the other day. With Claudia Tenney and a farmer apparently had during an interview had been critical of Claudia Tenney, and her remark was her reaction to that was any farmer anybody claiming to be a farmer who is supporting my opponent is not a legitimate business person. And in defense of that, she continued on and referenced one of the reasons why people should not vote for Anthony Brindisi is the Indian land claim deal, the deal that was put together. His response to that was, "That is without that, where would we be?" In essence, and so talk about what that deal has meant for Oneida County, really for the region as well.
For the region, for the county, in the 2019 budget, I've budgeted $19 million in Oneida Nation revenue. It started out at, if you recall, at a little over $14 million. I think it was 14 million initially. The baseline really was 12.5, I should say, on the gaming revenues. Without that, and I said that again in my speech to the board and to the public last Friday. Without that, 5 to 10% increases over the last 6 years. I mean, without it, there's no way to make up that kind of money, especially when a budget grows like ours. Our budget now is almost $420 million. And, to maintain that without another revenue source. And, we have a sales tax that is on the higher side because we keep property taxes so low. We needed another revenue source. And I cautioned against that, before, that we needed something to offset it. And without that offset, I mean, you're talking over $60 million going into almost $80 million over the next, when next year is all said and done, in a 5-year period, over $60 million. Where else does that come from?
Right.
And without that settlement, there's no tax, there's no revenue sharing. There's just more litigation, and really on the reverse side, it's even more costs for lawsuits and to fight a battle that we couldn't win.
Yeah. So the question is, why are you not supporting? This we can kind of parlay into this because why don't you support Tenney? Why don't you support Bova? Who else don't you support?
Well,
the question is, are you not supporting Republicans, and why don't you support Republicans? And by the way, what has happened in this very interesting divide of the Republican Party?
Well, I really find it interesting because for some of it now, notwithstanding the Congresswoman, she's been a Republican for a number of years. Some of the others are newbies, so to speak. They jumped around from party to party, and all of a sudden, because somebody like Donald Trump wins, everybody now wants to be a Republican and thinks that they can say whatever he does and get away with it. Yeah. And, that's been proven. The Congresswoman's record in our history with me has been primarily, it started, I think, because of the Nation deal and the corruption and the criminal. And
by the way, I
calling
hear
me,
I don't think
was heading up to the casino on Saturdays and getting a trunk full of money and going home, and that's why I was
right.
I mean, so somebody calls you a crook, a thief, corrupt, and the same with the others.
Well, we'll start with no one's surprised with Claudia Tenney. There's been certainly plenty of history there, and oh, by the way, if she were to lose to Anthony Brindisi, you know what she's gonna. But the word is that she's gonna. Not a judicial position. The talk is she's going to run against you.
Well, my question, look, and
that's what I'm hearing.
What?
I mean, I think people are surmising for the most part.
Well, next year is it's around the corner, and what happens. And, But here's the other thing, in terms of the other the divide in the Republican Party, it's a different Republican Party. It's not the one that I grew up in, so to speak. And quite frankly, I asked the reverse question: why aren't they supporting me? Why don't they come and work with me on the initiatives that I put forth that basically have moved this county forward?
Well,
I'm proud of my record.
Boba doesn't want to work with a criminal.
Well, and I've been but I've been the Republican. I've been the Republican for the longest time. I'm the longest serving out of that group. Obviously, the other two haven't served. I mean, Gordon has been another 12-minute Republican, but I've served for I've been in the party 37 years. I've worked for county executives, governors, and on the Republican side, and been county executive now 12 years. Why aren't they supporting me? I mean, and what is the Republican Party in that regard? It's the party I know has been the party that works the way we have at the county level, and the people I've worked with, like
is it
the
any
board of legislators, like a Jerry Fiorini, like a George Joseph, like Jim D'Onofrio, like Joe Griffo. I mean, others. I mean,
is it any surprise though that you are not going to support someone that is actively campaigning that you are a crook? A, B, they're against the Nano. Was against Nano. Say it's not going to happen. Against the hospital going downtown. Against the United Nations, and I mean,
and it goes on and on.
It's against everything that you stand for. I don't think there's any surprise. Why are people surprised?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I'm amazed at that. I mean, I guess it's just, but it just, it's the poke, the constant poke of, that they hope I'm going to change my mind. But if they know me, they know that doesn't happen. Especially with things like this. The point is still it goes back to what because of a political party, I'm supposed to, regardless of what people say that they're the best candidate. I've never believed in that. I've never done that. I don't intend to do that.
I asked you this a year ago, and I want to ask again. I had heard from a year ago, and you said this really wasn't true, but that there was a strategy being worked on to take the money, to find a way to take the money that was set aside for Nano and to be able to repurpose that or to repurpose the facility. Have we now, a year later, reached that point where Nano ain't going to happen, but we're going to have to do something up there, and it could be a real opportunity?
Well, I do think that, and I said this a year ago too, though, that, we have to look at other opportunities, beyond, without giving up on Nano in any way, shape, or form, but look at other opportunities such as UAS and other things we've done. I do. I mean, I am concerned, at this juncture that we have invested a great deal of time and effort and money at the size, the large size fabs that we've been looking at. Perhaps it's time that we look at, doing something on a smaller scale, if that's at all possible in that realm up there. So some of that I leave to. To Edge and the state, but I think it's time we had a clear discussion on where do we go from here. Because the other point is, it's not that they're building fabs around the United States. I mean, so it's not that.
Well, there's a drop in the
right.
That's the problem.
Right, that's the other thing.
You got to look beyond this.
You got to look.
The industry need is down.
The industry is down, but I mean, in terms of also just building, or building whether they're building wafers or whether they're packaging or whether they're doing all of the different pieces that go along with the technology sector. The question becomes, is that still where our prime focus should be? And if that money is sitting there, which we've been told it is and will, do we need to look at other initiatives for it? I'm I'm open to that, and I think that's obviously we're at a crossroads.
Is it possible they have been too? I mean, we don't know obviously
no, I don't
how many
think so.
groups
No,
they've
because
got coming in.
as of recently, there have been significant discussions with other companies, but like others, they've fallen off the table, and I think it's what you said. I think the economy does that in terms of, or the industry has done that. But there's a bigger global market out there that's eating up some of this, and we can't compete with that.
There was also
the United States can't compete
right.
with that. I don't want to.
Right.
I just think that we're in a tough situation.
We had a window. There was a window of opportunity, and it does seem that AMS thing just could play that mess.
I think that was a comedy of errors.
From the state
and unfortunately,
Caballeros
and delays. And I said it then. I think the delays and the ability or the inability of them to put it together in the timely manner, coupled with everything that happened after that in terms of the investigations and corruption scandals and cases.
Another area where you've kind of made your transitioned into something else is out at the airport. I mean, there was an active attempt to bring in a commercial line, if not maybe one of these small budget. But it looks like that is pretty much not going to happen. But you're looking at drones and other.
We're doing. We've put in this budget on the capital side, Sky Dome. And other aspects of building upon that corridor that we're working with our partners in Onondaga. I really believe, and we've got these smaller companies like Navmar Micro Drones that are slowly building up people, and working with in Rome Lab and Griffiths Institute in the future. I think you're going to see some, that's the industry that is going to have a good focus at Griffiths and is going to grow to what we believed it would.
Yeah. I've heard that would actually bring more jobs and money than to have an airline.
Well, there's no question
that,
especially with what everybody's doing with drone detection and overall usage, deliveries, public safety, weather, different flood mitigation. I mean, there's so many uses for the drones that we've seen, and we've used them here. And once, now that the FAA is starting to get on the ball in terms of the licensing and the regulations, which have taken so long, and that's been the problem, really. It hasn't been the industry that's not willing to move forward. It's the FAA in designating what these regulations are in the airspace. So I think we can get past that, and once that is settled, we're going to see a lot of growth.
I want to squeeze out, I got a lot here, hospital.
Yep.
Brett Truitt put out a release last night saying that, and I want to go through what he had said, and I want you to comment. They're holding a press conference today.
Okay.
I
wasn't aware of that.
in Bag Square. I'm not sure what it's going to be about, but it came up last night. So he's saying the Mohawk Valley Health System still owns no downtown land. The hospital seeker study is in progress. Utica Common Council has not voted to sell city-owned properties and nor close streets. Roughly 50% of the property owners have not signed any deals with the hospital, and more than one property owner will force Oneida County and or City of Utica to use eminent domain. All of that true? And where do we stand on the hospital?
Well, I think it's true because the sales would not be complete until seeker was complete.
Right,
I think we've said that time and time again.
However, although there are property owners that have cut deals, basically.
There are property owners that have signed purchase offers with to move forward, and there are property owners that are looking at other and solidifying in other locations. So that part of it is factual,
but everything is plowing forward, and
everything else, in fact, I have a meeting tomorrow, but there's more to come, I believe, next week from the hospital, but. Everything seems to be moving. The Common Council thing, I don't know what the time frame on that has to coincide with the seeker approval.
Right,
so you can't start getting rid of property and transferring streets unless you know that the environment of the seeker is complete.
Yeah.
When I can't remember his name, the CEO of the hospital. I'm sorry, I'm drawing
Scott
a blank.
Pera. Bob Schofield.
Schofield was on the program. He talked about, and I'm not drawing you into a Trump discussion. He said Trump had tweeted something about tariffs, and then the cost of steel had gone up, so it made them alter the budget. When it comes to the parking garage, Have the estimates changed on that because of what's...
We haven't gotten the estimates yet.
Okay.
We're in the process of doing that. But I did, one of the things that we did talk about, and I talked about with the Board of Legislators some weeks ago, on some of our other projects that we're looking at, that, the tariffs and the cost of steel is starting to drive the cost of some of these projects. And again, I don't know specifically what it's done to the big hospital piece. I haven't heard. I know that there are.
He said $1.5 million for the hospital,
that's
but the garage would be the counties, right?
The garage would be, we would be with the county, with the city, bonding for that. We haven't gotten those estimates yet, so we'll have to see.
I thought you guys had bonded for that. I thought you had.
We opened a capital project to begin the design and the architectural for it.
I want to. You mentioned projects that you're working on, so I want to throw out a couple of others, and that is the Nexus Center, the beer museum, and the casino, all downtown by the Adirondack Bank Center. It's been quiet. You're still moving forward there. What's happening?
Well, Nexus is the focal point right now. I mean, we're trying to. I always said we do one piece at a time.
Yeah.
Obviously, the casino is something that still remains in limbo because of the city and the mayor's viewpoints and even the state's to an extent. But Nexus is the focus. Hoping to hear from the state, in some regard, because we need that partnership to move that forward, and we have control of that property. We're trying to look at moving that. We've realigned the Auditorium Authority legislation to give them greater bonding capacity to help with that, so that we can do a project of that magnitude. So we're moving forward. It's just it's just taking a little bit longer. And look, it's election season.
Yeah,
nobody wants to do certain things until they see what the lay of the land is.
Fair enough.
You've been big on consolidation, although I see you're proposing adding a couple positions. One's info and tech. What would that position be? An info and technology specialist?
No, there's three positions in IT. Our IT department is, we finally made the switch to call it. We always called it Central Services. It's now being named properly the Information Technology. But we have taken over because there were different silos in county government. Along with the sheriffs had their own IT, other departments had their own because of just the way that the system evolved, and so. We've combined that into one major department, so we're responsible for all of the IT services and the backups. We're putting a backup center up at our facility, our one of our buildings up at the Oriskany the Whitestown Business Park. So we're adding a couple positions there because IT is a big issue, sure. Obviously, and especially with cyber security. And you saw that. In on Otsego, the Otsego County got hacked into just a week ago.
Your county website got taken over a couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago, we had a problem. But I mean, so there's a lot to be done, especially with the amount of information that we're responsible for, and so. We need to shore up the IT piece. Those are the positions. There are other positions in the budget, but those are more of the ones that jump out are because they're county funded. I mean, they're.
And then a quick thing on consolidation. What's on the horizon? I know you've been a big advocate for consolidation where possible.
It didn't work this year for a variety of reasons. The shared services plan that the governor put forth was, I still see a lot of flaws in it in terms of, getting everybody around the table and everybody signing on and everybody to chime in. It doesn't work that way. We need it to be to lighten up a little bit. But, as I talked about in my speech, there's still a reluctance in local governments to consolidate. And that's a shame because there's just, when we keep moving these budgets forward, there's not enough money to do this. And then I said, it's not about me eliminating governments. It's trying to do things more efficiently. People are not going to be able to afford it. And I posed the question to the legislators. Go ask people when you're presenting this budget.
There was a village, a hamlet that merged with someone last year. I can't think of who it was.
There was a couple. I mean, Bridgewater has gone the route of the village of Bridgewater.
Barneveld, too, right?
Was that encouraged by the county? Was that spearheaded by the county?
We've always encouraged it. I mean, Prospect was the first one that fell because of workers' comp issues that piled up on them and cost them a lot of money. And that's the other thing. These costs are rising in terms of insurance, in terms of the cost of running. So the smaller governments can't sustain themselves over time. Were they, initiated by us? No, I think they just started seeing the writing on the wall. But that's the unfortunate thing. For some of them, it may be too late at a certain time.
Because you had held the summit, right?
We did, and we continue to do that. We continue to work with them, but it's hard to get everybody around the table, and it's hard to get that buy-in.
I want to throw one last in. Part of your plan is to rework the formula for sales tax.
Yeah, I still
that'll be popular.
I still harp on that. I do a lot of popular things.
That's almost like a forced consolidation situation, right? You're not going to, we'll take all your money away.
But everybody wants to cut the sales tax only because it only affects us in county government, because the last piece of it is just the counties. But nobody wants to look at how this affects everybody else. And I really think that it's an enabler in certain ways, and it doesn't lead to the type of consolidation we need to do. Why are there three 4 levels of government doing the same thing in the same town, village, city, etc.?
All right, I have a listener who wants to know, will you, on record, endorse working with, if he wins, Dave Gordon?
I have a record of working with everybody.
You do,
regardless. So.
But you feel that Sandy's going to do well.
Look, I've said what I had to about Mr. Gordon. I mean, he didn't. Another one who, when he was on the Board of Legislators, was opposed to every initiative I put forth. So it's hard to work with people at this point like that.
Yeah, there is an attempt to take over right now the Republican Party. It looks like
people win, they win.
Fair enough. Have I missed that? I'm sure I missed a ton.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. We'll come back and talk more about the other stuff.
Is Oneida County getting a piece of the disaster declaration? I saw Congresswoman Tenney's office had sent out that she was able to get federal funding for her district, but I didn't think we were
I have not been told,
by that.
But then again, she doesn't tell me when those things come out.
I didn't think so, but I figured
read
you would
about
know.
them too.
County Executive Anthony Picente, as always, thank you very much.